too. Okay, so multimodal AI is basically a fairly recent innovation where instead of just being a text chat interface, that we now have the ability to interact in more ways, that AI tools can interact with us using more than just text. If you'd like a copy of this slides, you can either scan that QR code or you can type in this tiny URL here. I'm going to grab that link address and drop it into the chat too.
John, I think
Yes.
I'm just seeing your Zoom screen.
Oh,
I think maybe the wrong screen.
let me try that again. I must have shared the wrong screen this time. Okay, one more.
Been there, done that.
And I remain. So let me get the right screen shared. It seems I'm new at this today. Okay, so we are going to go to the share option, and that was on the other screen. So I don't know quite how that happened, but it should be on screen too. And now I'm going to share the correct screen. Okay, with sound. So grab that URL, either use your phone to grab it or type in that tiny URL or use the URL that's in the chat. And that way you'll have some resources later, because some of this is linked to videos and other descriptions that might be useful if you want to go back and explore it in a bit more detail. So multimodal AI can now process, analyze, and generate multiple types of data. So it can read and write text as ChatGPT has been doing from the beginning, or the other large language models. It can also, though, now read and interpret images, either that are uploaded to it or that it's picking up from the phone on your from your smartphone camera. It can also analyze audio in real time, and also it can analyze video and respond to that. And here's an introduction of that from ChatGPT. We can just look at a few seconds or a minute or so of this.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there, it's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling about? Are you in a cool industry-style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what I might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video, or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah. In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements are always a big deal. Judging by the setup, it looks like it's going to be quite the professional production. Is this announcement related to OpenAI, perhaps?
It is. And in fact, what if I were to say that you're related to the announcement, or that you are the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m.
Apparently this is connecting to the the YouTube without other, well,
this video
with ads
is
being
brought
there,
to you by Squarespace.
Doesn't normally happen because I'm not logged into.
Well, you've gone and done it.
So
Got
I'm
yourself
going to
a
get
new
out of
stereo.
that so we don't have to listen to all the ads. But that was the announcement for this, and it's been gradually rolled out pretty much to all paid accounts, and I believe in many forms, to some extent, the same features have been rolled out to free accounts as well. And that advanced voice mode, you might note, is much more realistic. It uses more colloquial expressions, and it seems much more realistic, and it's improved substantially since then. We'll see that in just a couple of minutes. So now ChatGPT on laptops and with paid accounts at least can see, hear, and speak in 1 of 5 voices. It can recognize and interpret objects in real time using a smartphone camera. And you could also do it from a video. Well, I'm sorry, that I meant to take out. I was going to put in one that I did this morning, but ignore that last part of the comment. It can interpret uploaded images, which, for example, if students aren't understanding something, if there's an image that they find challenging in the textbook or on paper or somewhere, maybe on a homework assignment, they can just use a camera to grab it and have ChatGPT address it and explain it and so forth, which is both good and bad. You can also now create videos, at least with the paid account. The free account, you can only do it when they have certain special offers or trials. So if you first create a free account, you get a week or so when you can create videos. But after that, you pretty much have to pay unless they're running some type of a special or trial program. And they are planning, at least at one point I saw them say, that they were planning to roll that out with shorter clips from for free use as well, but it's not there yet. But this is kind of an interesting site. It was posted by one of the people who does a lot of work in AI just a few days ago, where people were saying that AI is not very realistic. It's really easy to tell that you're talking to an AI. And this AI was something they suggested that perhaps it might be a little bit better than people might anticipate. So I'd encourage you to try it, but you notice you first get to choose what personality you want to use. And these are different voices that are available. Let's say we want to use, we want to say, yeah, we're going to let them download their cookies and so forth. But you can pick a person, you could pick the type of interaction you want to have, and you can, we do have to sign in. So, okay. Hi. So we have an account, so we're going to log in, and I'm pretty sure I just used my Google account to do this. So let me log in. And it just show that this AI can simulate human emotions pretty nicely. And now we have our guinea pig who has just arrived, who is going to do some interaction with human AI. There was some error getting the Google token. I have no reason why. No. Why are you excited? Let's just continue. I have read and accepted the terms of use and so forth, and we're going to stay ethical here. So we're going to continue.
Oh, you have to answer the question.
Oh, what are you excited to build with the human platform? What are you excited to build with this platform?
I don't even know what this one does.
It's just an interactive voice type thing. A chat bot, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's just try that and see. I've only played with this a little bit when I saw this posted. There we go. And now we're going to start. It's an empathetic voice interface.
Oh, perfect.
So we're going to start building it. And there's a new version now. That was coming when I last looked at this last night. But we're going to choose that one. And we have chosen it. Come on. We have chosen it. We really did. Maybe this was a missing Google token that didn't get loaded. Let me try refreshing the screen and seeing if that will work. Okay, this worked. It really did when I tried this last night. Maybe we can try the older. I'm sorry. You have to scroll down. This is a lower resolution monitor than I'm used to. And then you just click continue. It's one of those difficult things that I should have realized immediately. What voice do you want to try?
Let's listen to Sunny.
Okay, we'll listen to a Sunny voice. Okay. And we can hear a sample.
Hello, I'm your friendly neighborhood AI with a knack for emotional intelligence. What's on your mind today?
What's on your mind today, Stephanie?
I'm wondering when it's going to start getting warmer where I live.
Well, I guess, I'm sorry. We have to go further. We have to continue. So we could change that voice, but
in the interest of time,
we'll jump ahead. So, okay. So if no symptom prompt is provided. And here we get to choose which large language model you want. So it can work with Gemini, it can work with Claude, it can work with GPTs. So it works with the APIs for any of the major platforms out there.
Cool.
So we can use its default system, which works pretty well, or we could go over to Llama, or we could go to Claude or GPT and so forth. But let's just work with their default. And now we can enter a system prompt if you want, or we could just use a default one. Then we could go in and continue again and add some tools. I don't think we really need to add any more to that, but we probably have to continue. And name configuration. Yeah, we'll use this name right there if we can. We create that configuration. It just defaulted to the time and so forth. Now we're going to run in the playground just to see how it works. So we're going to start our call with it. When I tried this yesterday, you didn't have to go through all that because it just had certain defaults, but these things are changing pretty much all the time. So now we're going to interact with it. We're going to allow while visiting the site.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going? Anything on your mind?
A few different things, but it's really, really cold out where I live. So I'm wondering when the temperature is going to start to rise.
Oof, I feel you on that cold front. Well, let's look on the bright side. Warmer days are just around the corner. Have you ever tried using a weather app to track the forecast? It's like having your own personal weather guru.
I have a weather app that's built into my phone.
Nice. Smart tip for the win. So, what's the latest report? I'm curious if it's giving you any clues about when to expect a thaw.
For like the next 10 days, I don't think the temperature is going to rise much above 32 Fahrenheit.
Sounds like you're braving some serious winter weather. But hey, at least you've got that weather app to keep you in the loop. What's your plan for staying warm during these chilly days?
Well, I'm actually wondering if you could tell me when the temperature where I live is going to get up to like maybe the 50s.
Ooh, the 50s. That's a whole different ballgame. Let's see what your app's telling us. I'm curious if it's giving you any hints about when you might hit that warmer threshold.
It only does 10 days out, so I was wondering if you could give me like average temperatures for where I live per month.
Maybe
Sure. I'm right here, ready to help you out. So, based on your location, it looks like average temperatures in your area tend to peak around the mid to late 40s. That's not too shabby, considering you're braving the cold right now.
Okay, we can end the call. But in any case, you can tweak this, and you notice it's giving a little bit of measure of the emotions and so forth, that it's detecting in voices and so forth. It could tell you were getting a little bit annoyed, for example, with its responses. So yeah, so and there was also some boredom that showed up a little bit earlier. So it's detecting the inflection in your voice. And this is something, by the way, that's being built into a lot of the customer service type AIs, this type of tool, which is what they're marketing this to. So that way you can give different responses depending on the friendliness or the level of anger or upset from the voice that you're seeing, which is kind of an interesting capability in terms of emotion detection and so forth.
Yeah.
And you can also measure expression in the face, voice, and body language, and you can talk to it directly, which is what we were doing, and so on. So that's just a little sample of one of the capabilities that's being built into more AI tools. And in terms of video creation, there's a growing number of things out there. Sora is a big one. That's the one that we've been waiting for. It's only available with a paid account, though. It will generate up to a 20-second video, but it does a pretty decent job. So let's just hop over there for a second. I'll probably have to log in. And these are some sample videos that's created just to give very quickly, just it gave you a quick overview of its capabilities. But let's pick create a video. What sort of topic would you like to see in a video? Anyone?
Promote SUNY Oswego.
Okay. As soon as I get in there, we will. I'm not quite sure why it's taking so long. Maybe it's upset that it's not doing 20 or 30 authentications. So you can log in. There we go. Okay, so we want to create a promote. Oops, let me get the focus right. Create a promotional video for SUNY as we go. I don't know if it will have enough of that, but enough information to do that. But let's see. So we're going to have it create that. Well, we can have it generate a storyboard, or we can just go to create the video. So it'll take a little bit of time to generate, but not too long.
Well, we pay people a lot of money to do this work, so it'd be good to see a lot of AI.
Oh, there's a lot of tools you can use. One of the other ones, Captions, is one I was experimenting with. I had it create, it took about 3 minutes to create a promotional ad for the T for Teaching podcast that used a simulated version of me based on like 5 images it took. And then it created an ad, the text for it, and then had me speak that ad using a simulation of my voice. Not a very good simulation, but still a simulation. And I guess we don't really need to describe the area. That's interesting. So do we need to create a story description?
Is it up
so
at
let's
the
say
top? Because a
a
little
video.
pop-up came up
Did it?
saying aerial. Yeah, like SUNY as we go aerial video. Yeah, aerial tour. Yeah, right there, that first one.
Here we go. Here's a promotional video that it just created. It won't put in audio though, yet. That's a little bit odd. It's got a lot of people, it looks like, on the roof of Sheldon having some very giant people.
Yeah, there's an abstract aspect to it.
Yeah. They got the lake though.
They did get the lake. Yeah, so that one perhaps isn't as good, probably because there's not enough training on it, because these are like kind of like generic buildings. It sort of looks like the front of Sheldon, but let's go back. Let's see if we can just go back a step, because it creates usually 2 versions. And here's another one. And again, these are kind of like generic things. So this is probably not the best tool to create promotional things for real, unless it's been trained in some way, and it's not quite there yet. But let's create something that's a little bit more fanciful, perhaps. What would you like to see? Let's go back to create a new one. And how do we get there?
Is it right there on the bottom? That thing?
This thing, I was wondering. So, maybe it's just plus. Oh, you could upload an image or video, and then it could do that and add some things. However, it will not add audio. So this wouldn't really be great for that unless you want to do a voiceover of some sort. But if we uploaded images of as we go, then it might use that as a basis for a video. And you could do this.
John, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Say you are going to be absent 2 weeks from today, okay, for some reasons. Can you, use AI to conduct your class during your absence?
To run your class?
Yeah, to teach your class during your absence.
It's actually getting close to those capabilities. And we'll talk about some ways where that might be feasible. There's a growing number of Zoom AI clones that are being marketed. In fact, one of the goals of Zoom is to have AI avatars that will look like you, that will sound like you, and that will act as you when you feed it some training data. And there have been a number of experiments done with that as well. And we'll get to that, though, a little bit. But here, if you upload some images, you might be able to do better. But let's just try one more. And let's just say, I guess it is, yeah, describe it. So let's say create a video, something perhaps that is less marketable or more imaginative.
Of a unicorn
Okay.
shopping for Brussels sprouts.
Okay. Yeah.
Or you could say green vegetables to give it more variety.
Well, that's okay. I think one of the things that Ethan Mollick has used to test the various video generation tools is to have an image of I think it was a groundhog as a passenger reading a book on a jet. And he's gotten some pretty good ones. But here, you notice it gave a title, The Unicorn Shops for Produce. And it's now 90% generated.
That's the name of the poem. Unicorn shops for produce.
That's right. There you go.
Go write that.
In inspiration. The last 4% apparently is a little slower.
Come on, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
I know, as is the unicorn. There we go. And they don't look like Brussels sprouts, but it is shopping for produce at least. Or I guess it's shopping, it hasn't found them yet.
What's it, is it, does it move at all? Like if you click
Oh,
on it?
so
for the
yeah,
5
so if we
seconds?
pick,
Yeah.
so there's 2 versions. Which one? There's 2 different perspectives on it. Which one do you want to start? Oh, there's a Brussels sprout. Those are pretty big Brussels sprouts, but let's use that one. There we go. And there's a unicorn, and there are the Brussels sprouts. Giant Brussels sprouts, but still Brussels sprouts.
Well, he's putting it in his mouth, which is totally inappropriate.
That's true. But as long as he pays for it, it'll be good. So, and I think it will give you up to 5 different versions.
That
but
first one, yeah, he's actually eating it.
and here, yeah, here it's kind of,
Oh, he's got it in the basket.
it's got it in the basket.
Okay, now that makes,
And
well, I don't know, we still have the same problem.
yeah, the basket disappears. But again, it's sort of like with a dancing bear. It's not the fact that it's not a great dancer, but it's the fact that it can dance at all. And you notice there's a lot of detail in the video that, and these are getting better and better all the time. So this is at 480K. There are some tools that'll generate 4K videos and longer ones, but generally you have to pay for them. This is a free one. So, you know, it's more of a proof of concept than anything. And you can always recut it. You can remix it. If you don't like it, you can ask it to make some changes. You could, you know, do other things with it, but it's a starting point. And here's one, captions. This is one, I just saw it was an iPhone ad that popped up and I was curious about it. So I actually did subscribe to it because I wanted to see what it was like. It was one of the cheapest ways of creating a personal avatar. And it just asked me to sit in front of my web camera, and I was sitting at home there. Let me log in. I guess, do I have to click get started to get the login? Maybe. Or it may remember that. No, there we go. So I'm going to log in with Google. And it's a really crappy video, but I spent about maybe 3 to 5 minutes creating it. And here's some of the projects I did. Well, I thought maybe I created with a different account, but let's say an AI twin. Is this? There we go. So this was just created at home. Again, I was tired. It was late at night, but that's the AI twin it created where it's simulating me talking. It gives you a script of about 30 seconds to read, and it uses that to train your voice. It's doing it with a scrolling thing, and it's really fast. So it's not an ideal thing. I had to speak really quickly in order to be able to keep up with the sample. And as a result, it has me speaking much faster than I normally do. But I think I may have had it generate an ad.
Is it the brand kit?
Maybe it was a brand kit, but it was there. I looked at this last night. I swear I looked at this last night.
John, you have a button, new AI twin on the right.
That's to create a new one. Yeah. So that way, if I want to, I could use one of the existing avatars, and you should be able to scroll through a number of them. So you could pick these AI simulated, things. I thought it was, maybe it was a brand kit, but it's not listed. Profile, projects, maybe under projects. I swear it really was there last night, but let's do it. So I'm going to generate a talking video and an AI ad, and I am going to use prompt to video. We're going to generate one. So what would you like to generate? Oh, SUNY Oswego.
Yeah. Or T for teaching, whatever.
Well, I did that and it should have been there. I'm not sure why it's not. Unless I use a different account. I may have been logged into a different account. And it's going to be in English. Here we go. So here's a script.
Whoa.
And you can rewrite it if you don't like it, but let's go with that. And now we're going to edit the style. Oh, and we could use, well, we could use mine, but it's not going to sound very much like, but we can go with mine just to see it.
Yeah.
And we're going to generate the video. And it's creating a video. Maybe it only stores them for a few days because I first did this a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of weeks. But it was there last night. I checked.
Yeah.
It may be a limited storage time. Because it does obviously have my image there. It asks you to, it gives you various facial expressions and it uses that to simulate the motion of your mouth and head and other things. And I had these already done, so we didn't have to wait for them. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, we've got time.
And again, for $10 a month, I figured it was worth experimenting with.
Well, it's already blowing my mind, so this is amazing.
Oh, well, wait until you see some of the things coming up, though. The rate of change here and the rate of development on these products is just amazing. There's 3 major companies now that are producing AI twin avatars that you can use in place of you, where you choose as your camera the app itself, and it will generate your image. And well, we'll see some video examples of that. This would probably continue. I'm hesitant to jump out of here in case it.
Just while we're waiting for it, though, I mean, you can't help but think about nefarious ways in which you could turn this into something that perhaps was never intended to do.
Oh, yes. And that's being done all the time. And one of the things that's happening at Buffalo University is they are working on ways of detecting deep fakes and so forth, because you can train some of these things just on video clips from people and then use them as your avatars. And I'm seeing more and more ads pop up on social media that are pretty clearly generated by AI. I saw one that involved a talk show host and Tom Hanks, where it was clear that it was neither of them actually speaking, but it was an ad for a product, one of those, one of those ads that show up for a while and then disappear after they're being sued. And it was pretty clear that it was because the voice was just a little bit off and the video was just a little bit off, but it's being done. And certainly there were cases where they had a call where robocalls went out appearing to be from Joe Biden not too long ago that were all AI synthesized. So yeah, it's going to be much more difficult to interpret information, especially as these things get better. Right now, it's pretty easy to detect when they're AI generated because the inflections or the movements are just a little bit off, but that's the gap is getting smaller and smaller. And that's remarkable given that many of these tools have only been out there for a few months. Well, while it's doing that, let me jump back over here and we'll come back to this. Descript is actually something we use for our podcast. We haven't used the AI features yet, partly because they're not quite as good as human editing, but it has some remarkable features and it's $12 a month for the basic plan. I have one that's a little bit above that. But what it will do is it will train itself on your voice, or if you have a guest who is willing to allow their voice to be used to train it and they sign an agreement and so forth. This is a bit more ethical than many of the others. It will let you edit the transcript of a video. And if they missed a word or flubbed a word or left out a syllable, you can just type it in and it will generate the missing word in their voice. And it will synthesize and it will automatically adjust the pitch and the inflection and so forth. So it will sound as if they had actually said it. Right now I've got that trained on my voice. It doesn't do it's not perfect, but it's sometimes easier than trying to get someone in to re-record. And it will also take your podcast audio and automatically translate it into, if you have the $24 a month plan or up, it will automatically translate that into over 20 languages, and they keep adding more. And if you had recorded a video podcast, it will automatically sync your lips with the translated video. So it isn't a video, it's a podcast audio, but it's actually a video podcast audio editing tool, so that it will edit both the audio and the video and create smooth transitions if you cut out a word or if you cut out a few sentences. And it does a pretty good job of that. I haven't used many of those features except to experiment, mostly because when it cuts words out, it doesn't always do it cleanly and it's a little bit abrupt, but it's dramatically better than it was a few years ago. The reason I'm paying for this is because they bought the recording platform that we use, and we get Descript for free now that we have that. So, and it costs less than just the recording platform did originally. This is a really interesting one. The free plan, the HeyGen, is one of the things that will create those AI avatars. And here we're just going to look at some video. Well, let's see. Well, this is a link to it. You can sign in with Google and so forth. And I'm pretty sure I did create an account in here when I was experimenting with this. And once we get in, I think it shows you some demos. We're not going to actually create it, but the free plan will let you create 3 videos a month. Videos can be up to 3 minutes long, up to 720 pixel in terms of this. And you notice if you get the really expensive one, you can do 4K videos. You can create a custom video avatar, and there's 500 plus stock avatars that you can use as your spokesperson. And a lot of the ads that are coming out, and a lot of TikTok things, and a lot of Facebook Reels are being created using video avatars, because it's a really efficient way of doing this. You can generate a script for marketing or for a short story or something similar, and then you could have the AI avatars play out those roles. You can share and export the videos, and you notice you've got more and more features the more things you use. Here there's 700 plus stock avatar looks, and then you've got proofreading of the translations to make sure it's grammatically correct if you get the very expensive business plan. It's a Let's Talk plan, so that they get pretty expensive. But what I did do, I think on the next screen, is put in a link to one. Here's a HeyGen video where there's a video avatar created by...
Tired of showing up for Zoom meetings? You can now get an AI avatar to attend your Zoom meetings for you. And guess what? You can try this now for free. Firstly, there are 2 ways to do this. You can actually get an AI avatar of yourself, so you can clone yourself and get your own AI avatar to attend your meeting, or you can get a pre-built template avatar that you can use to attend your Zoom meetings for you. Now, let me show you a demo of both. Firstly, let's start with a demo of an AI avatar of me having a meeting with myself. Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. What about you? What specific business challenges or goals are you looking to tackle with AI? Let's dive in. I'm just making a video. I'm actually talking to myself. You are my AI avatar. And I'm talking to you, so that is crazy on its own. That's pretty cool. I love the creativity. So, while you're making this video, what specific insights or tips about AI and digital marketing do you want me to help you with? Let's make it engaging. So, I have a dental practice. How can you help me to generate more leads? Absolutely. Here's how you can use AI to generate more leads for your dental practice. 1. AI chatbots. Implement a chatbot on your website to answer questions, schedule appointments, and engage visitors 24/7. This can drastically improve lead capture. 2. Targeted ads. Use AI tools to create targeted Facebook or Google ads that reach potential patients in your area. Tailor your messaging to address common dental concerns. 3. Email automation. Set up AI-driven email campaigns to follow up with leads or send personalized reminders. embed it on my website?
Absolutely.
Here's an example.
You can
of a
embed the
synthesized
interactive
AI.
avatar on your website with a simple line of code. Want to know how to get that code?
Can I send it to my own Zoom meetings?
Yes, you can. The interactive avatar can attend your Zoom meetings and even provide summaries afterward.
Now again, that is crazy. I can actually have a meeting with an AI avatar. And
Okay, now obviously that's not perfect. It was a little bit wooden. There was some delays in response, but all those things are getting much more, they're getting much better. And this other one is an interesting approach, which looks much more realistic because it's actually your voice. It's not a synthesized voice, although there are ways of replacing that too. Did I not put in a video to this? I guess I didn't. No, I know there's a video. It must be on. I know I had it. Where is that?
tired of showing up for Zoom
Okay.
meetings? You can now get an AI.
I swear I had. I should have checked all this. Well, in any case, this was supposed to go not to get pickle, but let's see. I think. Well, let's try this. YouTube.com. Apparently, I put in the wrong link. So we are going to go. I'm not going to let that play again. So here we go. So we are going to go to, let's say, Get Pickle AI. And let's just find a video. There's some really good examples there. Oh, here we go. Well, this is an example.
Did you know that Amazon has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out every month? And here's how you can get a cut of it.
So Pickle just released, and it's a phenomenal example of how to think through complex problems in the age of AI. Pickle is a tool that you can use to join a Zoom conversation as if you are there at the desk live, but it's not live. It's an
Okay, and this is not a great example. Let's just try Pickle AI because there are some really good videos, but this is not one of them. I did look at this one last night, and I'm not sure why I missed that. Here we go. Here's an example.
Solution to the problems we were talking about related to video calling.
Imagine.
Solution to the problems we were talking about related to video calling is quite innovative, and I look forward to speaking to you and the rest of your team in the near future. Solution to the problems we were talking about related to video calling is quite innovative, and I look forward to speaking to you and the rest of your team in the near future.
Now that's just a short, but
problems we were talking
you notice
about.
what it's doing. Someone is talking in real time, but there's an avatar version of them that looks like they're sitting at their desk and speaking while he's actually sitting in his car. But there's some other better examples of this. Let me just see if I can find one really quickly. And again, I swear I had a link into it. Oh, well, I spent a lot of time trying to find a great example. And there are some good ones. You can find it. And apparently that's not going to work. Sorry about that.
The video though, John, may be complete now. The one that you started.
Yeah, so let's go back and take a look at that one, which is the captions video, the projects here. Here we go. So now we have it, and let's see what it looks like. Play video. I have clicked play. What is this? We could let the AI captions go, but I'm not sure why it's not playing.
Oh,
there we go.
There you go.
This, a campus nestled on the shores of Lake Ontario where learning meets adventure. Welcome to SUNY Oswego. Here you'll find cutting-edge programs from meteorology to creative writing. But it's not just about hitting the books. Imagine joining 170-plus student clubs, cheering on Division III athletes, or conducting research with world-class faculty. State-of-the-art facilities, they're your playground for innovation. And let's talk about that view. Sunsets over the lake, that'll make your Instagram followers jealous. At SUNY Oswego, we're not just preparing you for a career, we're setting you up for life. With a tight-knit community of 8,000 students, you're not just a number, you're family. So are you ready to make waves? SUNY Oswego, where your future takes flight.
And you can always edit it. You could add spacing so it sounds a little bit more realistic. I said none of those things. And there are some effects here. Because I was looking down at the laptop screen when I did this, it wasn't using a higher camera. Well, in any case, I had to read the thing really quickly. So my eyes were down all the time. But one of the nice effects it has is that in the effects, you have the ability, when it opens, to increase eye contact, and it will open my eyes more often so that it'll look like I'm speaking directly into the camera. And there's a lot of tools, by the way, that built that in. That's a really common thing with AI avatars. Even if they're based on real people, you can make it so that you change the eye focus. Descript will do that too if you have video podcasts. So it will look like people are speaking directly into the audience. And I'm not sure why that pop-up is not showing, but it does have that ability. Or it did. And you could add words. So if you want to change the script, you could put in some new words in there, and then it will add to the video and simulate me speaking. So, and it's for $10 a month. I figured it was worth trying. And so I'll keep it for a few months and try. You can edit the audio. You could add some video and do other things with it. But it's impressive. And this can run off of a smartphone as well as on a laptop. Okay, so these are just a few things you can do, but one of the things I wanted to do, and I'm not sure if it's going to work, because I did see a message pop up that my time with interactive AI and ChatGPT has actually expired for the day. But let me see if maybe it's not quite as strict as that. Because one of the things I wanted to do here was to show you what it's like using the AI interface. We saw a video clip on that. But let's see. So now.
Sure, what's on your mind?
What would you like to ask? Oh, well, let's do this. What do you see here? What does it look like we're doing? Oh, the camera is not there. It's not working. And the reason is I've had this running for about 2 or 3 hours and I forgot to exit from it. And I used up all the available time, even with the paid account, that you have to interact with it. And that's tied to my account, so it wouldn't matter if I switched to my phone from the iPad. But I did run it through before testing it, and it said it looks like this is a conference room. I asked it, and I had it look at this bear here, and I said, not bear, but I asked it to decide what that was, because it said it looks like there's some type of a stuffed animal on the table. And I held it up and it said, it looks like it might be a stuffed moose. And I asked if it could read what it says on the shirt, and it says SUNY Digital Learning Environment. And then you could ask questions about that. Or you could ask it to describe other things, or to how you might repair something or something similar, and it will come up with some pretty interesting responses. It's remarkably good at image detection. But again, Google Lens has been doing that for about a decade or so. So that's just built into the chat interface, where they're really good at representing, identifying material in digital images. So in any case, these are just a few tools out there, and I'm sorry that didn't work. I swore I had it there.
That was cool though, even like the short, because we saw the guy clearly in his car and then in a whole different setting, and the voice was great and he looked right also, like that one looked much better than the other demo.
Yeah, and because it's not trying to do the voice at the same time, it's able to build this much more quickly. And one of the videos I had was someone who is lying in bed participating in a Zoom meeting while they're barely awake. And another one was someone who was going out and actually washing dishes while participating in a Zoom meeting. And it just moves the mouth and so forth. And it looks like a very professional description of it. There's 2 major tools out there, the one that I showed and also one called synesthesia. And the synesthesia one asks you to do a 3D representation of yourself. It'll scan you in 3 dimensions and create one that's even more realistic, but also more expensive in terms of actual motions. The one that the one that I showed, the HeyGen one, just uses a series of images where it asks you to make various facial expressions, to smile, to look up, to look to the side, and so forth. And then it uses that to build in synthetic motion. So, Leah, your hand is up.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of maybe a more general question, but seeing some of this kind of has to bring into my mind.
Our systems are experiencing
Stinking AI interrupting me. So the potential for misuse for a lot of this, and it seems like now is the time to be kind of building in regulations and like a framework for an ethical use for this kind of thing. I think we all saw what happened with, with social media without having this kind of guardrails. So I'm just wondering, like, is anything happening in that area? Like, this isn't something that I'm familiar with. So, like, what discussions are kind of happening around that? I'm sure there are. There must
In
be.
the US, remarkably little, but in the European Union, there's some pretty active discussion about those things. I know there a number of people who have been working in AI have called for some guidelines and some restrictions, but we haven't really seen much motion on that here, as far as I'm aware of. And I don't know what's going to go on in Washington. It probably depends on whatever Musk feels like is most important. And he does have his own one built into Twitter now, his own video generator, which will generate all those things that many of the other tools have prohibited their tools from doing. So many of these systems will prevent them from representing public figures in video or synthesizing voices from public figures. That's not true, or synthesizing images for public figures. That's not true for the tools that are built into X under Musk, but you do need a paid account there to do it. And very few people are willing to pay for that. So that limits some of the damage from that. But we've seen some videos out there created that are kind of offensive in many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter who's creating them. So yes, it is a problem, and we need better. It's one of those wars where there are people out there trying to detect these, and and do some challenges to those with. And again, there are AI tools as in the work they're doing at Buffalo to detect these, so that you can submit videos and it will tell you whether it appears to be synthetic or real. But it's getting harder and harder to tell. I mean, in the ones we showed, they were mostly, it was pretty easy to tell with the simulated avatars of yourself, but except for the one where you were actually speaking. But again, that may not be quite as harmful. There is a video of someone trying to attend 20 meetings with 20 avatars of themselves and on multiple computers. And that's more of a satire than anything else, but it does show the capabilities of these things.
Yeah.
And again, Zoom is planning to build that into their AI companion, that you could have your own avatar that will be able to attend a meeting on your behalf, take notes, and bring them back to you with action plans and things you need to do later, as well as advocating for certain positions in meetings. And it's getting better. And Zoom has not really published much of these, but some of these other companies have demonstrated this as proof of concept. There was a podcast done a while ago where someone had an AI twin call various businesses on Zoom calls, or on the phone in some cases, and interact with them and gather some information. And then they went back and they interviewed the people, and only about a third of the people who got those calls detected that they were talking to an AI, which was kind of interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But
So I'm sorry. No, you mentioned something about Buffalo doing work in this. Like, do you have more information? Like, did you say that was UB?
Yeah, there's some researchers at the University of Buffalo who are doing some work. I don't remember his name.
Me neither, because we were talking about him for the symposium.
We were trying to get him at the symposium last year, but he was too busy doing this type of work to even respond.
I can look up his name. I'll dig through my email and I can look up his name, and John or I will send it to you.
Yeah, they're kind of leaders in the field. It gets mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can just really quickly find it.
It looks like there's an institution or an institute for artificial intelligence and data science at UB. I'm assuming it's based, or he's
Yeah, it's
based
one of those people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Enough to
remember.
get me started.
I should see his name any second. Under people. Jinjung Shang, I think is the name. He's a director of the program. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but that group has been doing a lot of work on AI detection.
Cool, thanks.
So, Don, is it fair to say that AI is actually cheating us?
Teaching us?
No, cheating.
It depends on how it's used.
When I actually send my image to substitute for me in an important meeting, that is a kind of cheating, isn't it?
Is it different than sending, say, an assistant to attend the meeting on your behalf and make recommendations? It might be. It depends. It's one of those ethical issues that hasn't really been fully resolved, mostly because it's so very new.
Say, John, I am a student in your class, and I am sending my AI generated image to sit in your class on behalf of me, and I am actually spending my time somewhere else. That is cheating to me, isn't it?
It could be, but is it much different than watching a video recording of the class? I don't know. I mean, that's one of those issues we're going to have to address. I would not do it, but I could see the benefits. Having spent so much time in Zoom meetings, the thought of having someone going in my place, taking notes and creating a 2-page summary or a few paragraph summary of an hour meeting, there's some benefits to that potentially. But again, those are issues that we're going to have to, as a society, address, whether that is equitable or not. It's certainly something that Zoom is planning as a future. And there is a question of how productive a meeting is going to be when all the avatars are avatars and not real people.
Yeah.
But Ramin, and Ben.
Go ahead, Ben. I can wait.
Okay, Ben. Okay, you are muted now. You're unmuted. But we are not hearing you.
It's got to be a audio setup issue, probably.
Yeah, it might not be detecting the mic.
I'll just go ahead and make the point that I was going to while Ben figures out how to get the sound working on his machine. In follow-up to what Nandakumar had said, I think what I'm observing is that, we think we know what we should say about Gen AI in our syllabi and other things, but all of these parameters changing. I mean, you wouldn't think that I should say that if I have a online synchronous course, I have to tell people that they actually need to come and not send their AI duplicate to my class if that's what I don't want them to do. But now it feels like, how many pages of things you can't do am I supposed to generate to say, well, don't send your copy to me. If I tell you to make a video of XYZ, don't have Gen AI make the video that I require for you to build. I mean, where does it stop for us to having to say, we're only here for you to learn, and if you choose to take shortcuts, if you still learn, I guess that's okay, but I'm not convinced that in context in which we have active learning processes and so on, and you're not there to experience it, you could possibly get the same benefit from watching it later or reading a summary of what the Gen AI produced for you.
And there is also the possibility, though, that those avatars might engage in the active learning activities remotely on your behalf with your voice. And it may be difficult to detect that given the rate of development of these things. But yes, that is certainly something I would not like to see my students doing. On the other hand, I'm thinking back to 2020, and I always wondered how many of those little black boxes on the screen actually had someone paying attention there. At least if there's an AI avatar, it's going to be taking notes and summarizing it, which is probably more than 80% of my students were doing back in the fall of 2020 in a class with 300.
Well, just a quick follow-up. We're going through an update of intellectual integrity, but I can tell you what we just discussed is not anywhere in it. It's certainly not observable as something that would be addressed in that policy. Because I don't think any of us thought that this was a thing, right? Until this conversation, that it could very well be. I mean, the black screen means something to you, but the person looking like they're there also means something to you, and it's not the same.
And what if it's someone using that second tool that was demonstrated, where someone is sitting at a resort, say in the Bahamas, or sitting at a beach speaking, while it appears that they're sitting at a desk speaking formally? Is that illegitimate? It's the image of the person. It looks really realistic, and it is actually the person interacting. And it's not much different than some of the filters that are being used with Snapchat and TikTok and other things, except it does create a really professional. It can create a really professional thing. It's not just putting hats on your head or changing your hair color or turning you into a cat. It's making it look like a formal version of you, which is, again, it's one of those things that's going to be happening, and it has been happening already with some of the filters that people have used. There was that famous video about 2 years ago where the lawyer was speaking into a court case where his child had turned on the cat.
I'm not a cat guy.
Yeah, the cat video where you saw this cat speaking to the court, which was kind of disruptive to the court's behavior.
One of the funniest videos I've seen in my entire life.
And the lawyer just could not figure out how to turn it off. So he had to interact as a cat. But this is not much different than that, except it's something that clearly is harder to tell that it's happening. So.
I'm so sorry, I have to run.
Yeah, and
I have a new meeting.
okay. Well, in any case, this just gives you a feel for some of the things that are being developed that may very well alter the way in which many of these online meetings take place. And it's going to be harder and harder to tell whether ads are being created by people or by synthetic avatars, because the synthetic avatars have been programmed to move very realistically, and it's much easier to animate them than it is to have people be animated, because they've trained all the parameters for their synthetic avatars. And
just a quick one, John. I was trying to figure out why, as the actors union were trying to argue and discuss potential ramifications of use of AI. Well, why is that such a big deal? I clearly understand it way better now, why that's such a big deal, and why they were putting their foot down, not allowing it. I don't think they won that part, but not allowing the use of AI, in effect impersonating them in producing new content for advertisements or other reasons, films or anything else for that matter.
There was an early lawsuit on it where the person who played the father in Back to the Future was not rehired for the second or the third movie, but they made a face mask that captured him, that the actor that replaced him used. And he has a lawsuit because it was his image I think he won it actually, because his image was being used in the 2 other movies, which generated a tremendous amount of residuals and profits that he wasn't getting, even though it was his image. Moving to AI generation, it's even more clear. And there was a great example of that in the new Star Wars movies, The Mandalorian, where they took the Luke character and they de-aged him so that he looked like he did in the early movies. And the first year of that, it wasn't terribly realistic, but a year later, they had him looking very much like he did back in the 1980s or late 1970s and early 80s. And yeah, so it is a major issue for actors and actresses and for writers too. So we'll see. Okay, well, thank you. But it's going to lead to a lot of debate and controversy over the next few years. And who knows what will happen after that? Who knows what will happen tomorrow in the news? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.